Cool. So yeah, today we're going to be ranking the children's shows, the most nostalgic things of all time, and provide the definitive ranking.
Yeah, we added a few that we know the most about. There's some other ones, but either like one of us wasn't too sure about it, didn't really watch it, or it just wasn't really something either of us watched.
Yeah, and I'm thinking we can start just from left to right.
Yeah, I think that works.
Great. So, Big Time Rush.
Yeah.
Um, this is a great one. I don't think I ever watched like all of it,
Uh-huh.
um, but like I definitely watched enough to know like what the whole vibe is. And I think it's pretty great. It was one of those weird ones where Big Time Rush was actually a band, but they
Yeah.
were also like a fake band in this show, like the Jonas Brothers.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I feel pretty good about this one, like A or B. They dropped some bangers. The theme song was a banger for
Uh-huh.
sure.
Yeah, I really liked Big Time Rush, and I liked actually the fact that like it was a show and also they were a real band. It had a lot of like good drama with like dating and stuff, which was cool. Yeah, the band was cool too. I really liked the show. I would maybe put it high B for now, and then we can maybe talk about moving it. But yeah, Big Time Rush was a solid show. I love that.
Yeah, and real quick, which one was your favorite?
Um, I believe it was is Logan his name, the smart one?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Logan.
Okay, cool. I
What about
was
you?
I was totally about Carlos.
Carlos was
Uh,
cool. Yeah,
yeah,
that makes sense. We cosplayed as them. Remember the
yeah,
one
yeah,
dress up day school? You were Carlos, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh. So this one I can barely read, but I know by heart this has to be iCarly.
Yes,
And iCarly was iconic.
it definitely was.
It came after Drake and Josh, but still, I think, and so for that, I think, there are some people who think Drake and Josh is the OG,
Mhm.
but I think iCarly might be the OG.
Really?
We can get it into comparisons when
Okay.
we have to, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think iCarly was next level.
Mhm.
There were so many fun bits in that. Like I just saw a clip from that one episode where they get the doppelgangers. Um,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, there was just a ton of great moments. It also had a bunch of drama that I
Mhm.
really enjoyed.
Yeah,
Even though it's, dumb in retrospect, it
yeah.
was, I don't know, enjoyable back then. I feel like it's A or S.
That's actually really surprising to me. I liked iCarly and I watched a decent amount of it, but it was never one of like my go-tos, It was more just like, okay, when it's on, I'll watch it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it definitely had a lot of charm to it, and I think it was cool that they had a lot of guest stars. Like, wasn't Michelle Obama on it at one point?
Maybe?
I think she was. And also, I mean, the like One Direction, people like that were all on it. So that was pretty cool. And it was kind of the first show that kind of went into like streaming and stuff. I feel like that's happening a lot now where like
Yeah.
all the shows try to do that kind of stuff, but this was like before it was even really cool. So that's something going for it. But I honestly would put it on a similar tier to Big Time Rush. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, you comfortable with it being right here
Yeah,
for now?
considering you think so highly of it, I think we can put it above Big Time Rush.
Okay. We
Yeah.
can we can get into brass tacks.
Yes.
Um, okay, Chowder. Chowder, I think it was really weird, but
Definitely.
also super fun.
Uh-huh.
Like the most memorable thing from it is probably the way that their clothes looked, like the
Yeah.
fabric. You know
Uh-huh.
exactly what I'm
It like
talking about,
moved,
right?
right?
It
Yeah.
moved. Well, it didn't move,
Or yeah,
right?
the background is what moved, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like they would move. It was like it was like the fabric was a window into some other dimension, and when they were moving, you would see that. I don't know. It was a
It's hard to
great
explain. If you
effect.
watch it, you definitely know what we're talking about.
Yeah. That said, I mean, it was never my favorite thing.
Mhm.
Like, I feel similarly about it to like I feel the same way that I do towards like Big Time Rush.
Okay.
It was just sort of on sometimes.
Yeah.
There were definitely like a ton of times where I was like, oh wow, this is funny. And I
Yeah,
think some of the humor was like next level for being a kids
definitely.
show.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, which means I'd be okay with it being higher, but I personally was never like super invested.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I love Chowder growing up. I don't know what it was. It just like radiated like this like chaotic energy. And I was always like drawn to it. Like I never really knew what was going on, but I just enjoyed like seeing the things happening. And then there was that one character I really liked. I believe his name was Schnitzel. Was it?
Schnitzel.
Yeah, Schnitzel. And all he did was like go wada wada. He would never
Yeah.
actually like talk. I liked that a lot as a kid. Um, I honestly would want to put it in as an A. There was never really like any like consistent story. It was more just like, you know what it is? I think it's similar to what Rick and Morty is doing now. It was like the like founding father, that type of show. Rick and Morty is a little bit more structured, but Chowder has like a similar kind of feel to it. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
Yeah, I mean it's the whole division between like consistent storylines through shows versus like just episodic, like
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
gonna do something crazy this time. And yeah, I mean it was cool. And
yeah.
a lot of the characters were fun, like
They
even the
were.
side characters, like that rabbit girl,
Oh yeah. Hmm.
or Endive.
Which one was
She
that?
was the big orange woman.
Wasn't she
Um,
like in charge of like that little girl, the rabbit girl, or
I
no?
think yeah,
She had like
I
some
didn't
kind of
want to say
powder.
mom, but there
Oh,
was I didn't want to say that because I don't think that's true, but
yeah, there was something going on there or
there was
something.
something there, yeah. But I just distinctly remember like Endive's like butt being shown, or like I don't know, they would get into stuff like that. It
Yeah.
was fun.
Yeah, Chowder was a good show.
So kids next door.
Mhm.
This
Code
one,
name. Code names.
Codename Kids Next Door, right?
Yeah.
This one I never went too hard on. I mean, it was definitely something I seen, and I recognize all the characters and stuff, and I have like a general idea of the plot, but I was never super hard on this one. Like, it was okay. It was like it's a cool concept, but I don't feel super great about it.
Yeah, I agree. This one was more just kind of there to fill the void when the other ones weren't on. I watched it that for really that like only that reason. I never really sought out the episodes. It was more just like there, and I couldn't. I don't even know if there was a story or not because I just watched random episodes every here and there. So yeah,
There
I'd put it
was.
C or D. Well, how was the story then? Did you watch it?
Yeah, I think it was, it was about like kids versus adults,
Okay.
Um, and there was like a recurring villain, which was like the father or something was his name. And he
Oh.
was one of those characters where he was like all black, like, uh, like not as a race, but as like a color.
Uh-huh.
And just like the only like light part of him were the eyes.
Hmm.
I think he had like a pipe he'd
Yeah,
smoke
I have
out
no
of.
idea. I don't remember any of that.
Yeah, I don't know too much. But then there was also there were like some teenagers or something
Oh,
that some creepy teenagers. There's
yeah.
not too much to the plot, but there were recurring villains
Oh,
at
I see.
least.
I see.
Um, yeah, but here gets to something I guess might be controversial.
Yeah, I guess so.
But yeah, Drake and Josh. So I will say I love Drake and Josh. Drake and Josh was great. I personally just thought it was worse than iCarly, but yeah, I mean Drake and Josh, I think deserves an S or an A. Um, yeah, it had tons of just funny bits,
Uh-huh.
and it was the foundation of a lot of the later things to come around, like iCarly, for example.
Yeah, definitely. I love Drake and Josh. I think Drake and Josh is one of the best ones here, to be honest. But considering you think it's worse than iCarly, what do you want to do since iCarly's so low?
I would have put iCarly in S,
Okay.
so I'm okay with putting Drake and Josh in S.
Okay. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I really like Drake and Josh. There was, yeah, like you said, a lot of funny bits. And there's a lot of jokes that like thinking back to it now are so stupid, but at the time were just great. Like, do you remember when Drake was like trying to communicate with the aliens and he started speaking French?
No, I don't remember that
That
one.
was that was so funny to me. And then like where they tried to make the treehouse for that kid and then they like didn't cut out the
They,
door. Like it was
yeah,
just so iconic.
there was one joke stuck with me, which was that I think Josh is like getting something from picking up a package,
Okay.
and he tells the delivery man like, "Have a nice day," and the
Hmm.
delivery man says, "Don't tell me what to do." or something like that.
Yeah, I do remember
I don't
that.
know why, but that just stuck with me for some reason.
Yeah, that was a good show.
Another good show, I think.
I agree.
Fairly Odd Parents. I think this was like one of the better cartoons for sure. Like,
Definitely.
first off, the concept is so just interesting or like alluring to a kid. Like, okay, if you could wish for anything, what would you have?
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I think this was also a nice blend where there were like a bunch of like episodic things where like, okay, just a bunch of stuff happened and nothing
Yeah,
was relevant to any other episode. But then there were these events like the movies or other things where like
the
the
crossover.
larger plot was at play.
Yeah, yeah. I really liked also the fact that like towards I don't know if it was like more towards the end of the show, but later on at least, there was like the whole thing about how like Timmy might lose his Fairly Odd Parents because he's like growing up and like his life is getting too good essentially. So that was
Hmm.
pretty interesting. And then there was also like they had a baby and there was an evil version of the baby, which I feel like should have made it worse, but I mean, I don't know. Personally, I was really into that.
Yeah, so there were two things, or there were three things, I guess. Three
Mhm.
weird additions later on. There was Poof, the baby.
Yes.
Um, and then I don't know the order of the next two, but there was the neighbor who moved in and Timmy had to share his fairies with.
Oh, I
And then
remember
there's the
seeing that.
dog. Um,
Yeah.
I think I stopped watching like after Poof, I just like grew up or whatever. But
Yeah.
from what I understand, I think it went kind of downhill.
I
Um,
agree.
yeah. And I don't know if that should play into our ranking because I don't like how much did you see?
I mean, I think I remember the dog coming into play, but I don't remember the neighbor, so I think that happened first. And I stopped watching around where the dog had first like gotten introduced. It was still pretty good at the time, but I mean, I was growing up by then, so I didn't really watch too much. I think though, even now, didn't they reboot it and like change the animation style?
They might have had
Yeah,
totally out of whack there.
yeah, but I mean, I think we should just rate it based off of like what we watched, what
Hmm.
it meant to us. So for me personally, I'd put it either where you have it right now or like behind Chowder.
Yeah, let's keep it right here for now.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Hannah Montana.
Mhm.
Uh, this one was good. I feel like I like never wanted to admit that I watched this,
Yeah,
but I feel like every like little boy still did
definitely.
because it was all TV. Like didn't really matter, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, I mean, it was good. It wasn't the best. It wasn't like Drake and Josh level or anything,
Yeah.
but it was good. I'd maybe even say better than like maybe Big Time Rush, just because I remember more of like the plot lines that were going on there, but
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not too hype about it.
yeah, like you said, actually, I remember I used to only ever watch it when my sister was there. So I'd have an excuse and be like, oh, like I want to watch TV, but she had the remote, so what could I do? But secretly, I loved the show. I mean, I think what I will say for it is that it had like a lot of like overarching things. Like it had like movies and like there was like actual like Miley Cyrus. Who was she singing at that point? I think she was, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, there was a lot more to the show like than just the actual show. And for that, I think it does deserve to be ahead of Big Time Rush. I'm okay with that.
Like right here.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, that feels right.
Yeah.
Okay, Jimmy Neutron. Um, in many ways, you can compare this to Fairly Odd Parents. They were both Nickelodeon shows. They even had a crossover. If I were to compare them though, I would put Jimmy Neutron below. I think Jimmy Neutron had a lot of cool moments, a lot of great, like very great even.
Mhm.
I might even say like above Chowder, but uh, yeah, just I mean, not as good as Fairly Odd Parents or Drake and Josh.
Yeah, I pretty much completely agree. I think Jimmy Neutron was it did a lot of what Fairly Odd Parents did for me, but not as much for some reason. I think it might have been the animation, to be honest. I wasn't a fan of the way that they looked, so I always gravitated more towards Fairly Odd Parents. And I mean, I watched Jimmy Neutron a decent amount. I remember the mom was like a baddie. That's all I
Yeah.
remember. But yeah, I mean, I think where it is right now is fine.
Yeah, I do remember though, like there were there was like the constant romantic tension between Cindy and Jimmy,
Yes,
which is something that I don't think Fairly Odd Parents had, you know.
that's true. Yeah, it
But
did tackle more
yeah,
mature.
yeah. Still okay. Johnny Test. It feels gross to talk about this one right after some of the others because I don't think this one is nearly as good. It
Mhm.
was, I mean, yeah, it kept my attention when I would watch it,
Yeah,
but it wasn't anything special. There was just it was, I feel like it was really random, like just stuff was happening everywhere.
yeah,
And there were some fun characters like Bling Bling Boy. I don't think I'll ever forget him.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it deserves to be down here.
Yeah, I think this one did a lot. It has sort of like a similar role as Codename Kids Next Door for me. It was just kind of there when nothing else was on. What I will say against it though is honestly it took a lot of inspiration from other shows, and so it didn't really seem all that unique because of that. Like you could tell it had kind of like the whole is it like Dexter? Is that the show?
Yeah,
Dexter's
Dexter's
Lab, I
Lab.
believe? Yeah, it had like a lot of inspiration from that, I feel like. And for that, I kind of felt like it was like a little bit scummy. But I mean, it was there for me to watch, I guess.
Yeah, as you mentioned that, what did it even have that was like unique? Like each show sort of had like this thing where it's like, oh, this is like an interesting concept, right? Like a boy genius who can create things, or you know, like I guess they had a talking dog, but
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think it was just the dog.
yeah, which still wasn't much. Yeah,
Yeah.
I might,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm happy with that. I was gonna say D as well.
okay. Kim Possible. You're gonna have to honestly speak more on this than me because this is the one that I watched the least out of everything here, probably.
Okay.
From what I did see, it was kind of cool. Kim seemed like a likable enough protagonist, and yeah, but I don't really know much about it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Kim Possible was probably my favorite show here, to be honest. Or close to my top favorite shows here. I had like the fattest crush on Kim Possible growing up, to the point where like we had a Monopoly Disney edition, and there was a cardboard cutout of her, like as one of the characters you could use, and I stole it from the box
Oh
and I
man,
kept it under my pillow for like weeks. 'Cause I was simping for it before it was even like a phrase that people used. But
oh
to speak on the show itself, it was honestly, I think the yeah, honestly, I think it was the best show or the best story here. It was really cool because there was like these like overarching villains, and some episodes there's more just like them doing stuff, like with most things. But it would build towards things, and like you could see like things would change. Like there was this one big villain that she would always try to fight, and there was even like romance with her and her sidekick Ron, I believe his name was,
hmm
and there was a naked mole rat too, which was epic. There was like the sidekick. Yeah, it was a really great show. It like had a lot of like fighting, so it was like action packed. Kim Possible was great. Yeah, there was a lot. I think that I would honestly even to choose any of these to go back and watch. I think it would either be Kim Possible or one of the ones we're going to talk about later. But yeah, I think Kim Possible deserves either an S or considering you don't really know much about it, I'd put it in A. But if it was up to me, I'd easy S.
we can put it here because since I don't have any bad opinions about it, that makes sense.
Awesome.
Um, cool. SpongeBob. Uh, so this is sort of the default, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody watched SpongeBob, um, unless you were like weird and weren't allowed to. But
That was me.
oh wait, really?
For a while, yeah, but once I got older, I just started watching it.
Okay, yeah.
Older
I
meaning
mean,
fifth grade, I think. Yeah.
I think it was iconic. I think it deserves all the hype that it got because it just had so many memorable episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like S tier. Uh, there's just so many things that I can remember from it, like the episode where they're ugly,
Yeah.
or uh, the episode where they go to the future and the past, and
Mhm.
episode where Squidward like eats a bunch of Krabby Patties and it goes to his thighs.
That was a
Like,
good episode. Yeah.
like more than I think most of these, I can just name a bunch of episodes.
Yeah. I'd say this is probably the one that I remember the most about as well. I liked it, and while I think it deserves an S, I don't think it's an S. I think for some reason I just wasn't as into it as I am with other shows, but because of like its because it's so iconic and because it's such like a honestly like the show of our generation, to be honest. Everyone's always talking about SpongeBob, or the kids show at least of our generation. I think it'd be a disservice for us not to put it in an S tier.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
The movies, did you ever see the movies? Or at least the first movie? I don't know anything about the other ones.
The first one being like the one with the Neptune and like the whole crown and stuff, and
Yeah.
David
Yeah.
Hasselhoff or whatever.
Yeah. David
Yes,
Hasselhoff.
watched it multiple times actually.
Yeah. It was
It was a good.
crazy.
Yeah,
It was insane to me that
it
they were
was.
making a SpongeBob movie and they did, and it was crazy.
Even the game, I think it was on PS3. Did you ever play that game?
Uh-uh.
It was pretty cool actually.
Battle for Bikini Bottom?
I don't remember what the name was, but I think it went through the events of the movie.
Mm,
So yeah, whatever game that was, it was pretty cool.
yeah. Deserving.
Yes.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Okay, so next is oops.
Yeah, our
This
boys.
right here. Um yeah, I mean, I think that so first off, should we include the Sweet Life on Deck in our discussion here or just limit ourselves?
I think we should because I think it adds a lot of
Yeah.
stuff to it, to be honest.
Yeah. Um yeah, I think that this was like of the live action shows when we were younger, this was like at least like top 3 most iconic. So much going on. Just the characters were so fun. There, at least in Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, there weren't a lot of like uh, overarching plot lines, but I think in Sweet Life on Deck there were. Once there was like relationship drama. Yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing, epic, S tier. I would put it at number 1 right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think there was really nothing bad I could say about the show. What I could have said with just the sweet life of Zach and Cody was like there wasn't really an overarching story. It was more just like shenanigans that they were getting up to. But Sweet Life on Deck kind of solved that issue where like it introduced like romance and more like mature things. And I think what it did really well was when we were young, it had like more of just like fun stuff. And then we got older, it got into Sweet Life on Deck, and like we kind of grew up with them, so we could see like their relationships and stuff. So I think that I don't know if that was something they did on purpose, but it definitely worked in their favor. I think here, and I think number 1 so far.
Yeah, yeah. If only we were a little bit older, like we would be their age,
Yeah,
and that would be very interesting because we the, in Sweet Life on Deck they were in high school, right?
hmm
Yeah, and
we were in
we
middle,
hadn't.
I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
a little bit.
but yeah, I mean, amazing. Like tons of just fun characters on the side, like Mr. Mosby, obviously, or Esteban, or uh, in Sweet Life on Deck, like Woody.
Yeah, Woody was iconic. And who's the other guy that they had as well? He was
Um,
I forget. I don't even remember what he did. Wasn't he like their half brother or something?
Half brother?
Am I crazy?
You must be.
I must be. All right, never mind.
I don't
He
think they
started
had a
dating
brother.
London,
Huh?
or he was into London.
Oh. I don't remember his name, but he was the one who was in Witness Protection Program, right?
Yeah, yeah. Was he not their half brother? Am I crazy?
You're thinking about the other show, like with Mitchell Russo
The
or
Kings one.
whatever. Yeah, the Kings
Yeah,
one. That's
yeah,
what you're thinking of.
yeah. But yeah, he was really cool too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Great cast. The one character that I can remember that just is lackluster is the Zach's girlfriend in Sweet Life on Deck.
Oh yeah.
Um, I don't like. I remember that she existed, but I don't remember a single thing about her. Like, I feel like she had to be pretty lackluster.
Yeah, she didn't really do too much other than being like Zach's love interest, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here we come.
Yes.
to Wizards of Waverly Place, which I think like this is the battle of ages, in my opinion. Sweet Life versus Wizards.
Uh-huh. I've been dreading this.
Yeah, as have I. I think that Wizards was a more fun like uh concept to play with, right? Like,
Yeah.
they're wizards. They can like do whatever. And I also think that Wizards is overarching um like plot lines. They came in like pretty frequently, and I think they were probably stronger than Sweet Life's overarching plot lines,
Mhm.
because Sweet Life was mostly just like uh relationship drama, whereas Wizards I think dealt with more interesting stuff. Um yeah, honestly, if I have to put it somewhere between these two, because I think that's the only place we're gonna put it,
Definitely.
uh I might put it ahead of Sweet Life.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. There was a lot more like permanent events that took place that like impacted the show like in the long run, and even like you could always tell what it was building towards, like the final wizard showdown. Things like where what's his name? The youngest brother turned
Max.
into a girl, made Max turn into a girl for like a season. That was like pretty crazy. And then like there was also like werewolves involved, and I'm assuming there was vampires as well. I can't really remember.
Yeah, the Justin's girlfriend was a vampire.
Yeah, yeah. So there
Also,
was
I
a lot
just
going on. Yeah.
whatever. Oh
No, no.
no. First off, the vampires versus werewolves like plot line was so cool, I think. I don't know if it was vampires versus werewolves at first or wizards versus vampires, but when they started introducing the other creatures, I thought it was super interesting.
Mhm.
But maybe you remember this better than me, but didn't Justin have to drop his vampire girlfriend just because she was like old or like she looked old or something?
I don't know if that's what it was, but I remember there being beef between the vampires and the werewolves, and it like drawing to like this big fight between Alex's like boyfriend. I don't know if they were dating at the time, and Justin's like girlfriend's family, I think, or like just her maybe. And I remember them fighting at one point,
I think they did, yeah.
and I think because of that, I think the werewolf guy might have like killed her or
what I
something.
think what I think happened is that he bit her, and
That's right.
then
Yeah.
she like lost her like vampire powers,
Uh-huh.
and so she was just an old person.
Yeah.
And I think that then she got dumped by Justin because she was
Well,
old.
what I'd assume is like that implies like she's gonna die. So maybe that's why he dropped her.
I
Maybe
guess that's even worse though.
why? Like maybe she died right there. I don't really remember. It could have happened.
I don't think she died right there.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh. I remember for some reason also the werewolf like hobbling off at the end of that and
I
being
think they
gone.
both hobbled off into the woods.
Yeah. Something after that whole like arc, something happened.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't. Yeah,
It was a great show.
yeah. Maybe that's an argument that they didn't handle these things super well, but still, it was very entertaining and it made sense in the moment.
Mhm, mhm.
But yeah, I think this makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of S tiers, but I think that that's well deserved. There was a lot of epic shows when you were growing up.
Yeah, um, yeah, I think these are all deserving.
Mhm.
In my ideal world, it would be pretty much the same, except maybe iCarly would move up.
Okay.
But yeah, I think this is super reasonable.
I mean, if you do want to make a change, what I would propose is moving Drake and Josh to the start of the A tier and moving iCarly up as well to in between Fairly Odd Parents and Jimmy Neutron.
Okay,
Does that make you happy?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that trade. Yeah, I think that this distinguishes more too because yeah, I don't think iCarly is in the same ranks as Hannah Montana and Big
Yeah,
Time
I
Rush.
agree. Yeah.
Okay, well,
This is
this
it.
is it. Great. We will
See you
pop
guys.
off again.
Yeah. Well, we haven't decided what we'll do, but we'll hit you guys up with something next week. Like and
Great.
subscribe. See you then.